Today we're taking a look at the latest arcs of Omen, and we're discussing some of the upcoming Warhammer 40k 10th edition rumors. Plus, I have a tiny channel update. All this and more in this week's Hobby News. I'm Angela, you're watching Hobby Night. Now let's get to it.
The lost child. And here, a fatherless son, alone in the endless night.
I want to start by talking about the latest Arcs of Omen tarot card reading, because in it, I think we got our first real hint that the lion is definitively returning. If you look at this particular card, we will see a blonde child on a red backdrop, and then behind that is a space motif done up in a dark green and gold, which are the Dark Angel colors, don't you know? And if you listen to the dialogue over this particular tarot card reading, we're talking about a lost son, aka one of the Primarchs, who is in an endless night. And we all know that the lion is asleep on the rock, which is in space, rather than being in the warp like, say, the wolf is. So I really think that this is definitively pointing towards Lionel Johnson returning in sweet, sweet glory. Now, how that comes about, I am not sure. Will Cypher be the one to show up and use the sword and wake him up? I don't know. Is it going to be Commander Farsight? Perhaps, because we've had a really big focus on him and he is another child in this scenario. Perhaps, I actually don't know. But regardless, I can't wait to see what the new Lionel Johnson miniature is going to look like. Before we move on with the remainder of this week's news, I want to give you a small update about what's going on with the channel next week, because as you may or may not know, I'm going to multiple different pro wrestling events, and I expect to be very tired because one of them is AEW Revolution. It's gonna be very exciting on my first AEW pay-per-view, but because of that, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this Saturday's live stream. Originally, I was going to be playing some more Blood Bowl 3, and I'm going to stick with that the following week, but for this Saturday, there will be no live stream. I just want to give myself some downtime because it'll be in between two different shows. Additionally, we are going to have a little bit of a different schedule for the hobby news. I'm still going to do one, but it's going to be a little bit delayed. I'm not putting it out on Monday after Revolution because I'll be exhausted and there's no way I'm filming anything. So you can be expecting that either Tuesday or Wednesday this coming week. After that though, on Tuesday, we are still going to have our standard hobby live stream where I'll be finishing up my ATTE Walker from LEGO. I started that last week and I want to complete it so I can add it to my clone army. Now, we've covered what's coming up for this week on Hobby Night. Now let's go ahead and jump back into this week's news. Next up, it's been a little while since we talked about any new tanks from Horus Heresy, but the one that we got this week as a preview, I'm really excited for. I don't know, there's just something that I really like about the Sicaran Venator. I just think this looks really cool. I don't know what tank this particular model is based off of in real life. Somebody in the comments, please let me know, because I'd love to pick up a Tamiya version of that tank and build it up and maybe compare it to this one, because this is one that I think I'm going to be grabbing. There's just something about its shape that I just can't get over. It might also be, the giant cannon. I do love a giant cannon. All right, last but not least this week in the news, I wanted to do something that I don't normally do, and that is discuss some spicy rumors, because there have been a lot of rumors coming out about what we can be expecting for Warhammer 40k 10th edition. I wanted to go ahead and discuss them because I think there's some big changes coming, and I think for the most part, I'm pretty okay with them. The biggest change and rumor that I've been seeing recently is about the fact that we're returning to indexes. Now, you may remember the indexes from the transition from 8th edition into 9th edition. I personally did not have a problem with them. I felt like it was a fine way for Games Workshop to streamline their products and simplify their rules and make something a little bit easier for people to grab and pick up and just start playing. Now, I know that's not how everybody feels, but it does seem like that is the direction we are leaning, because we've even had somewhat confirmation of this from a supposed playtester of 10th edition. They are saying that yes, we are in fact getting indexes. They also reinforce the fact that we are going to be seeing a more streamlined game with reduced stratagems, warlord traits, as well as secondaries, while also seeing an increase in potentially generic secondaries, as well as warlord traits that are more accessible to everybody. And I think this accessibility and the streamlining of these changes by going into these indexes does make a huge amount of sense. Let me explain why I think it makes a lot of sense. You might remember that Henry Cavill has a project going on with, I believe, Amazon Prime it is, of trying to get something Warhammer 40k on the platform to expand its product to a whole new audience. And if this is still in the works and Games Workshop is intentionally expecting a bunch of new players to come in from this, they might want to make it so the game is as easy to jump into, as fast to jump into as possible, so they can capture this new audience that knows nothing about the game, nothing about the world, and they can just grab them and make them spend money on miniatures for a lifetime, just like they've done to all of us. Now, on top of these index rumors and the streamlining of all these changes, especially when it comes to the stratagems and warlord traits, we also have some rumors about some of the products coming out, specifically what the starter set for 10th edition is rumored to be. And it's going to be an Astartes versus Tyrannid box, supposedly. And I think this makes a lot of sense. We haven't seen the Tyrannids in a starter box in a while. There's always going to be Space Marines in a starter box, and as we just saw, we had confirmation basically from Games Workshop that we're getting Lionel Johnson. Perhaps these Space Marines will possibly be Dark Angel specific. I don't really know, but I think that would be very, very cool. And I, for one, would love some feathered helmets. I just think they look really cool. I like the knight look, all right? If I was going to start a Space Marine army, this is definitely the time with 10th edition because of this box set, as well as the potential of Johnson returning. Now, on top of that, am very excited about the Tyrannids that are coming in this box as well, because if I remember correctly, we are getting some new Nids upcoming, and to see them added into this box would be swell, and I've always wanted to paint a Tyrannid army, so this might give me the perfect opportunity to do so. Now, when can we potentially expect all these new products to roll out, all these new indexes, maybe the new starter set? Well, the expectation is June 24th. And this makes a whole lot of sense because if you look at the release schedule for the Arcs of Omen books, I believe they end or wrap up right at the beginning of June. And that would mean that June 24th, being the end of June, would seem likely for a new release of a rules set. And I do believe, historically, Games Workshop tends to release new editions for Warhammer 40k during the summertime. I expect we'll be learning more about this come May when we hit Warhammer Fest. Games Workshop will hopefully reveal the starter set, talk about the indexes potentially, especially since there are such strong rumors circulating around at this point. Now, the one negative that I personally really see with all of this is the fact that the indexes are going to cause the exact same problem that every new rule set release causes from Games Workshop. And that means it's going to invalidate everybody's newest rules within about 4 months. So all of you people who just bought the new World Eaters Codex or even the new Imperial Guard Codex, I don't actually know how long those rules specifically are going to be valid. And I find that really, really frustrating. I wish Games Workshop had a better transition that didn't completely make people feel like they're wasting a bunch of money on all these paper products that they then invalidate in roughly less than half of a year. That is really my only concern when it comes to these rumors. Otherwise, I'm pretty excited, and I just really want to see what 10th edition is going to bring. I want to get back into this game. 9th edition has really driven me out with all of the excessive rules bloat, so this idea of a streamlined system sounds really, really appealing to me, and I hope Games Workshop does it well, and I hope that we get some sweet glorious new plastic miniatures alongside it. Let me know what your comments are on the rumors for 10th edition down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe everything that the playtesters and the rumors have been circulating, or do you think they're totally full of themselves and you're just gonna hold out and wait for Games Workshop to tell you straight up? Let me know down in the comments below. All right, that has been it for this week in hobby news. It was a very Games Workshop centric news, but sometimes they just produce a lot of content for us to talk about. I'd love to know your thoughts on any of the things we discussed in this week's news. And before I head out, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for making it so content like this can continue to happen. Without your guys' support, we would not be doing this, so thank you very, very much. I have been Angela, and I hope you have a wonderful hobby night.